Tino, also known as Kalmaegi, is nearing the Philippines, and we're just about 24 hours out, actually, from this now making landfall as a typhoon in eastern areas of Visayas, just right around late day or Samar. The latest update from the Japan Meteorological Agency does show about a Cat 1 to Cat 2 storm system coming on shore here, but also very similar intensity in their forecast, and really this tracks across late day, passes right over Tacloban, just north of Cebu, so at least in that specific instance, we wouldn't be in the right front quadrant, but the island, the northern portion of the island, definitely would be impacted quite significantly here over Bohol, Negros, and then off there towards northern areas of Palawan before heading out towards Vietnam. By the way, I am meteorologist Robert Spett, always do my best to keep you updated with the latest information on what's happening out here in the tropical Western Pacific. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe. That's the big reason why we're still able to do all this, is from your support here. All right, so let's break this down a little bit more detail than just showing the satellite and the track, and that's the whole point of these updates, to educate and inform. And here's one thing that I'm seeing at least a little bit of good news. It's not significantly and quickly wrapping up here. And the other thing is time. You see how close this is already to eastern areas of Visayas. It doesn't have an abundance of time to get together. So the idea of this going super, it's unlikely. It feels like we just don't have the time for it. Rapid intensification, but that probably going from, a tropical storm up to lower end typhoon status, as you've seen there with the Japan Meteorological Agency. You take a look at the SIMS, though. This is the microwave imagery peering through the upper level cirrus clouds out here. SIMS is the University of Wisconsin, by the way. And basically, you can see right here, just passing north of Palau, but look at the low-level center as it crosses off here further and further west. It starts to clear out just a little bit. We're nowhere near a defined eye, but these are kind of the premature beings of an eye wall trying to develop up here. And you see from JTWC, they have the winds at 55 knots, but they do get it up to 70 and 90 knots, which in kilometers per hour is about 150 to 160 kilometers per hour, passing right over Tacloban, just maybe making that landfall in the southern portion of Samar, and then passing further off towards the west over the northern areas of Cebu. So very similar to what JMA is also saying here. And then we take a look actually from the official track of Pagasa here. They have it as a severe tropical storm, also making landfall in a very similar spot. And I show the multi-agencies to confirm that confidence that this is not my forecast. This is multiple agencies from different countries, meteorologists, some of the best in the world out here tracking these storms, all agreeing on that landfall intensity of a typhoon just right near Tacloban. So that brings in the threats of winds. Now, damaging winds Cat 1 to Cat 2, yeah, that means signal force 3 or 4 probable along the coastal areas here, okay? The other thing is storm surge. Now, I know anytime we're talking about Tacloban, instantly storm surge is the big issue. I find it kind of interesting, though, Pagasa is putting the warnings, the higher warnings, here along northeastern Samar, when I would have put them right in here. And hear me out, because here it's more of a peninsula that actually deflects surge. Now, it doesn't deflect it completely. Of course, you're going to get a surge here. We've seen that in years past. But it's in these kind of shallow areas running up into Tacloban, the late day Samar area, especially out there in the low-lying peninsulas. That could be the highest threat of that surge. So I wouldn't be surprised if this warning cascades a little bit further towards the west into some of those low-lying areas in the city. Now, I want to stress when I say that, this is nothing, absolutely nothing like Yolanda, okay? A lot of people try to make that comparison. This is a David and Goliath type situation. This is David. Yolanda was Goliath. They are not on the same page. And I understand the worry, the fear behind it. Understand it completely, and it's 100% justified, and I'm just trying to clarify that up. Cat 1, exponentially less intense than a Cat 5, but still a Cat 1, so you can't just shrug it off and go, well, we've been through worse, because that's when you get in trouble. I see that. It's not a Philippine problem. This is a global tropical problem. People say they think they've been through them, and then they forget about the hazards even other ones do have. So here's a look at the The Google DeepMind also showing a very similar, but the good news with the Google DeepMind yesterday, this was showing a Cat 5. Today, it's still showing kind of the equivalent of a major hurricane, Cat 3, coming on shore there in late day, putting Tacloban in the right front quadrant, passing just north of Cebu, just north of Bohol, and northern areas of Bacolod, Negros, and then off towards Panay Island. By the time it gets further towards the west, though, around like Iloilo, this tracks directly over. It's going to be a significantly weaker, not weak. I mean, I still expect, some pretty good gusty winds. Heavy rainfall is probably going to be the bigger issue further towards the west here as it hits the friction of a lot of the islands here. Problem with Visayas, though, is that there is a lot of islands, there is a lot of mountains, but there's a lot of water in between it. So a lot of times storms still kind of keep that energy up. Even though technically it's made like 6-7 landfalls, it's still often just keeps chugging along. So even further towards the west, yeah. Now, this is some good news, though. If you are, it might be even good news for Cebu if this shifts further towards north, but definitely in Mindanao. And this is it. The northeasterly flow, you see that gradient induced winds due to the northeast monsoon, high pressure ridge towards north. So a lot of gusty conditions just up and down the east coast like this. But south of that, you're lacking that gradient. So what happens is Siargao is going to be looking at some windy conditions, but it will be an offshore wind, so you're not worried about surge. Same with like Davao, Cagayan de Oro right here. You're going to be north of that south of that right front quadrant, pardon me. So Mindanao is actually missing out on the worst of it. In southern areas of Visayas, including, if this jogs even a little north, Cebu would miss the worst of it. Granted, if it shifts a little further south, then it brings you closer to the core. It's a tricky one, but my point in emphasizing it is that areas north of that storm center, it definitely could be getting worse weather than further towards the south. And I had somebody say, well, they were like even just talking remote miles. They're like, well, you said it's going to impact Tacloban. And I'm like, and they're like, well, the center line of the forecast is just south of Tacloban. I'm like, you can't just focus on that line, please. My goodness. That's where you'll get yourself in trouble. And you can see here those winds extending well towards the north, but south, not as quite much, but passing right over Leyte, Samar, Cebu, and then kicking off here towards northern areas of Palawan, and then off towards the west. And once again, also not Odette. We're not dealing with Odette either. Just so everybody's making that comparison, and I know they look very similar, but we're not dealing with that type of storm. This is lower, but still impactful. So I'm happy. I see in videos already of people prepping at stores and everything and just making smart decisions. But the rain is also going to be an issue, even though as this tracks further towards the west, crosses over a good portion of Visayas, but then you have that inflow on the backside of it. Heavy rainfall warnings already in place up and down the east coast of Luzon even. All right, so note your information through official sources, okay? I am not an official source. I truly appreciate everybody watching these updates, but as you can see, I am a guy in a spare bedroom here. But I've been doing this for like 20 years. I shouldn't say that. I'm a meteorologist, not just some random. Anyways, prepare if you're ordered to evacuate, please do so. And check your emergency kits. I see a lot of people running out for like food and water and stuff like that. Smart, but something that people don't often think about is just important papers. Throwing that into somewhere, and you should already. And the good thing about if you have like something that keeps stuff safe, and you remember to put stuff in like a certain area, like your passports, for example. It's just an example, or birth certificate, stuff like that, is that once it's there, it's there. And you don't have to worry about it in the event of a next storm. Or if you're looking for it one day, you know exactly where it is. This is where you kind of put all that important stuff together. Just something people don't often think about. And it could help you out in the future. All right, so main points: Leyte and Samar landfall, rapid intensification possible, but once again, time is on our side, and it's the lack of time. Monday night into Tuesday morning, this very well could be making that landfall. It will be making that landfall, and just the lack of time to allow this to gain that strength here, since it's spinning up pretty quickly, but it's also just doesn't have a lot of time to get up there. So yeah. Behind it, let's take a look at the guidance from the ECMWF, still wanting to show that second storm system out here further towards the east. Let's loop this on through, and it's ECMWF showing more of a monsoonal gyre, to be honest, a little funky. Let's pull back the picture, and of course we're talking about our storm, but then we watch the Google DeepMind. Now the good news, the cluster is not as tight as it was yesterday, but still is there about 7 days out, showing a strong storm east of Luzon. This isn't really a tight cluster, to be quite frank. I know a lot of people a little worried about it, rightfully so, but at least for the time being, I'm not going to scream run for the hills just yet on that one. And this is actually the GFS even showing, that's ECMWF showing this broad low, and then there's the GFS showing a little bit tighter going towards Luzon, but that would be also about 7 days out. So we still got some time to watch this one. So let's monitor the storm at hand here, and of course Tino, which a little sheer on the north. I'm actually tonight. I'm actually a little happy at just the look of this. It is not coming together as I was expecting, and it's a little disheveled. Doesn't mean it's done. It doesn't mean it's going away. It's just a little disheveled, which is better than, oh my goodness, look at all these conditions that are showing a rapid intensifying storm. So yeah, that's all. Anyways, let me know if you have any questions or anything. If you want to support this channel, comment down, or not just comment, but link is down below for our Patreon. Or don't forget to check out frontrunnerfinancial.com. They're a ad accounting agency. Goodness, I'm having a day. That deals with, let me see if I can pull up their ad right there. Accounting agency that deals with people that live and work overseas, and if you get paid by different countries and stuff like that, foreigners, I lived Philippines, Japan, all of that. So I know how important it is for something like that, especially if you're trying to deal with taxes. So check them out. They support the channel. So that's I'm not trying to force it out of here, but they do support. And I just want to give them their due. So thank you guys so much for stopping on by, though. And number one thing, of course, is please stay safe out there. Okay, friends?